Digimon Time Stranger was my first Digimon game, and I liked it so much that I didn't just beat it, I got the whole platinum. That required me to beat the game, do all the side content, and then play it again on the hardest difficulty Mega Plus. And even though that was challenging, it kinda solidified this game for me as the best anime game of 2025. So naturally, I was curious to see what they would do for DLC. The In-Between Theater has 3 doors, 1 for each DLC story, and I just finished playing through all of them. So now I can tell you which one's the best, which one's the worst, and whether or not they are worth your time and money. Let's kick things off with
This is an extra-dimensional space created by a certain Digimon. It's called an Akashic Backdoor.
The DLC literally takes place in a pocket dimension, a dimension created by the big villain of this DLC, Parallelmon, who we get to meet right away. He's doing battle with 2 other big Digimon, and we get caught in the crossfire, blasted by a beam, and sent somewhere else.
What even are these bubble things? They look easy to pop, but are way tougher than they seem. What do you think? Wait, who are you exactly?
If you have played Cyber Sleuth, you may recognize Kyoko Kuremi here. Then again, maybe not, because she did put on some clothes. In this game, she's a daughter of Captain Kuremi, who you may remember during the main game. He was working for public safety, and she is full of daddy issues. We explore this place a bit to find a door that takes us to the real world, where we find Inori and Agumon. But they're not the Inori and Agumon that we know, they are alternate versions from a different world. We also run into the 2 Digimon that we saw fighting earlier, and they're really upset because their friends are stuck in the bubbles.
Perhaps it's due to being separated from our partners, but we haven't been thinking too rationally.
Imprisoned in those bubbles are the humans who have been kidnapped by Parallelmon. The bubbles are essentially digestive organs for Parallelmon that convert their contents into energy over time.
Ew! And with that, every character has been introduced. We can finally move on with the story. Now, the game has us traveling to a bunch of these doors, which give us a window into Captain Kuremi's life in the 8-year gap that we time traveled between during the main game. Except this is also an alternative version of this world, so it's not exactly the same world we've seen before. But hey, it did make me appreciate this character a lot more. I thought he was a bit of a filler character in the main story, and now I think he's kind of a badass. What's not so badass is that the game is making us run through the same spaces over and over to reach these doors to give us another small fragment of the story each time. Like, the story is cool, but the way they tell it is boring as hell. They even give you a Kalismon boss fight that is exactly the same fight you do in the base game, straight up recycled. And eventually Kyoko accepts that her father is actually a pretty cool dude. I mean, you kind of have to after this epic shot. The Digimon he's fighting against is supposed to be a friend of the other 2, but kinda lost his mind since the partners got trapped in the digestive bubbles. Honestly though, I wasn't too scared. Omnimon Zwart defeat. Bro, you were built to lose, literally. Bro was just... He was born to lose from the start. The dude evolves, but our friends also fuse and become another variation of Omnimon. The rest of the story is pretty predictable. We beat him back to his senses, he joins our party, and together we defeat Parallelmon, returning everyone back to their original timelines. No joke, I think this DLC was like a 3 out of 10 for me. My favorite part is how it completes the lore of the main story by visiting some of the gaps in between that 8-year period. Even though it's an alternate dimension and it's not the reality that the main story takes place in, it's still like a nice window into what the humans were doing, in particular Kyoko's dad. I like that side of it, I enjoyed it. But the way they present that story is by making us run the same path over and over and over to reach a door to go into a dimension, and then they make us fight a bunch of enemies we fought before, including the Kalismon boss fight. Only at the end of the DLC do you get actually unique boss fights with Omnimon and then of course Parallelmon at the very end. So to me, yeah, this is like a 3 out of 5 DLC, to be honest. I'm not impressed. It was fine. I was very excited for this DLC because the Digimon on the cover looks sick as hell, but I could not believe we were actually doing this again.
This is another Akashic Backdoor. Basically, that same Digimon has once again warped the natural laws of the world.
Well, the same?
You'll have to defeat them.
What?
Just like you did before.
The same one? Bro, they just went back to Parallelmon? I thought I threw enough perpendiculars at him to defeat him for good. Dude, talk about lack of creativity. I'm not enjoying this already. And I'm still in the first room. And I'm already pissed. Now, inside we find a different Digimon, and just like I thought, he's an actual badass.
Flashy Force Punch!
The result is the same, however. We wake up somewhere else in this Akashic backdoor, only this time we find a sleeping Omnimon along with Bancho Leomon. And guess what? The streamer is here.
Hello, folks. This is Occult Tokyo TV. Am I dreaming right now?
Instead of Kyoko, we are gonna get Hiroko's story this time, even if it's an alternate dimension Hiroko. Though in this DLC, I found her voice acting to be pretty bad at the start. It fixes itself later, but some lines, especially early on, it feels like she's recording this in her room at 2 a.m. trying to not wake her parents up.
What does it all mean? What we're looking at is the old Shinjuku, back before the apocalypse came knocking on our doors.
No idea what happened there, but like I said, later in the DLC, she does a great job. Just like last time, we are jumping across different space-time pockets, but instead of just getting lore, we are also recruiting other Bancho Digimon to our team, and every single one of them is awesome. In between fights, however, we are interacting with these crystals that give us the story of Hiroko in that same 8-year gap. Her perspective on the story is super interesting, because when we all went down to the subway, she fainted after we saw the shadowy figure. We only came back to this world 8 years later. This whole time, from her perspective, she's the one that brought us down to the subway, and then her friend just went missing. She thinks this is all her fault. It's another awesome story, ruined once again by the repetitive action of running around this same place, interacting with crystals one after another. Once we have gathered our allies, Omnimon wakes up, he evolves into yet another version of Omnimon, and together we tackle the final boss, which was now 100 times easier since we already knew what we were up against. And also he's dumb as bricks. Bang on who? Do it again! See if it works this time. Stop it, bro. He's dumb! And that's it. And to be honest, I left this second DLC super disappointed. Now, I think we have cooler Digimon in this DLC because the Banchos are awesome. But like, they gave us the same format. The perspective is on Hiroko, and that part is cool, but the story is delivered in a really dumb way again. It's just running from crystal to crystal. That's boring. And then you have the same boss fight in the end. I already know what I'm up against. It was way easier this time. I don't know. I feel like this is worse because of it. You know, because it's like the boss isn't even new. The concept isn't even new. This one is a 2 out of 5 DLC for me. It got worse. Looking back on it now, I can see that the point of this DLC is less about the threat of Parallelmon and more about learning about our Digimon buddies, in this case, the Banchos. If that's the case, the first DLC was absolute trash. The only lore there is that the Digimon and their partners work together to save the world. Like, that's it. The Banchos at least have this whole jacket thing and the communication through fists. It was a lot cooler learning about them. But still, I feel like that's just me trying to read more into what the DLC is trying to do, rather than just take it all at face value, because Parallelmon is clearly framed as the main quest. Everything else around it just feels like flavoring. Now, I know the next one is going to be the same thing. At least I guess the expectation is set. If they resolve this in a good way, maybe it makes all the DLC better, like increases the score for all of them somehow, because the conclusion is awesome. But I'm gonna be really honest, man. I wanted more Digimon, and it's not been great so far. This DLC blew my mind. It starts exactly the same way. You run into Parallelmon immediately and meet your next 2 buddies. Yes, that is another Omnimon, very creative, I know. We get blown by the beam and wake up somewhere else. That part is exactly the same. What's different is that they decided to bring politics into this DLC pack. In the alternate world these Digimon are from, there are too many Digimon. They are exhausting the natural resources, so there's this thing called the X program that slowly kills Digimon. X program, though, does not work if you have an X antibody, which these guys of course have. And so 2 of this guy's friends believe in survival of the fittest. If we don't kill off Digimon, everyone will die. So they are helping the X program reduce the population, and they're going beyond that. They're just killing Digimon themselves. The other two friends want to save all Digimon, completely ignoring the overpopulation issue that will lead to their extinction, while also blaming this Omnimon for not taking action despite having their X antibody privilege. Like, the stuff they say is straight up out of a radical left trying to argue with the radical right.
There are too many unnecessary Digimon in this world. Your future is the result.
That is a wild line.
Dr. Simmons is the human companion this time around, along with Asuna. Though the flashbacks didn't feel as important as the last DLC packs, the clash of these two extremist ideals was really at the center of the plot. And whether you like or dislike politics in video games, I thought it was super brave of them to tackle something like this while painting both sides as unreasonable idiots incapable of dialogue. They didn't play it safe. This kind of plot can really rub people off the wrong way, but they managed to do it by presenting a really simple, really clear problem that has given way to two radically different ideologies on how to fix it. And so, how did they conclude the story? What solution did they come up with for the overpopulation issue? It's very simple. They didn't. Parallelmon showed up, shot the beam at them, and the small dinosaur dude stood in their way. This sacrifice made them want to cooperate to take down the big boss. Nothing was solved. They just found an excuse to move away from the subject. And the dude didn't even die, he evolved into Alphamon. It's like they had the bravery to bring something controversial to this DLC pack, but then had nothing to say about it. Well, the silver lining is, this is the last DLC, so at least we can get a definitive end to the Parallelmon story.
But Parallelmon can travel across space-time. That means it's possible that a Parallelmon born in another timeline could start causing trouble again.
They didn't even do that. I will say the final boss fight was at least different this time around. Parallelmon starts with a bunch of protective buffs, so you gotta take down the smaller Digimon to debuff him, but he also keeps summoning more and more of them, and he has character reversal, so it's not easy to completely counter this boss fight this time around. That's a small silver lining on a DLC that showed potential before squandering it completely with the way it concludes.
Really brave topic to tackle, honestly. I didn't expect it to go so hard politically on this DLC 3, but the conclusion was such a bland, non-committal thing that it was like, why'd you bring it up? It turns out you had nothing to say on the subject, so I think that also falls a little flat. Not my favorite. This was my anime game of the year last year, but the DLC is not worth it in my opinion.
I really didn't like this season pass. There isn't a single DLC pack I would recommend, let alone the whole thing. If you zoom out and look at all we just went through, there is so much recycling done from one DLC to the next. Not only with Parallelmon and recycling the same areas, but even the same storytelling formula. Instead of 3 unique pieces of DLC, it feels like it's only one that they created variations of. Just like they made a bunch of Omnimon variations and then made them important characters in every DLC pack. As a recent Digimon fan, this gives me a really bad impression on Digimon variety. This feels like a universe that is full of characters to learn and discover, so seeing so many repeats in 3 different DLC packs makes Digimon seem a lot smaller than I think it actually is. I also thought Parallelmon was just lame overall. He is eternal, he is everywhere. Okay, what's the point of fighting him then? We defeat him so he has more pockets, infinite pockets, all the pockets but no more what are we doing here? Now I won't lie, DLC 3 kinda had me going with the whole narrative. Not necessarily because I love political commentary in video games, but at least it felt like they were going to do something brave. They were going to pick a side or at least offer a solution that pleased both parties. But in the end, they just drop it, so I can't even praise their bravery there. Besides, each story can be finished in 2 to 3 hours, and each pack costs about $12. It's an insane price for the content they are offering. And I understand these DLC packs come with more than the story. Buying the DLC, some of these Digimon become available to play in the main game, so you can evolve into the Banchos, for instance, if you have DLC 2. But as someone who has already completed the game twice, I personally don't see any value in that because I have no interest in playing through the whole game again. But in case you do have an interest in doing that, they don't really give you an entire new line of Digimon. Each pack basically gives you 5 new evolutions. If that's enough for you to justify your dollars, more power to you, but I cannot, in good conscience, recommend any of this. I love Digimon Story Time Stranger, but the season pass sucks. And that's the DLC for Time Stranger. For more anime games, make sure you're subscribed, and as always, thank you very much for watching. My name's Globku, and I'll see you next time. Bye.